7 days had passed since Operation Maze Raider began. Maze had been silently swallowing the general's soldiers as best he could. They failed to pass the report back, leaving Calgurio to spend the restless hours. The reason for this constant state of anxiety is to mask instinctive fear. There is still no way to contact the other units, and contact with those inside the labyrinth has been broken. At first glance they looked completely isolated in enemy territory. Such a situation made Calgurio uneasy. Still no one's coming back. He let out an angry roar, but no one responded. That's actually the answer. And it wasn't just Calgurio, those staff officers knew the situation wasn't good. At first they didn't think it would be that hard. But nowadays, they have to say it was bad judgment. According to the information gathered, the lowest floor in the labyrinth is also more than 50 floors. Although the floors were exchanged every time they were full of 1,000 people, the soldiers were still able to enter in order. Thus able to make contact with those who had gone in first, but the first time they were able to make contact, the number of people who had entered the labyrinth had long exceeded 50,000. That said, they said that the king of the labyrinth was the immortal king, and from that point of view, the words of Shinji and others were no longer credible. This was because someone reported upwards the next day that they had found the floor dominated by the immortal king. That immortal king seems to be one of the so-called 10 lords of the labyrinth. Some say the hearsay may be true. Nowadays, no one dares to laugh at those people anymore. No matter how powerful the elite personnel are, they seem to be struggling. Yes, the operation may fail if it goes on like this. How can that be? At the thought of this, Calgurio shivered. That would have been the right judgment, but Calgurio no, he wasn't the only one, even the other staff officers didn't think it would be good. The reason why it makes them think that way is because of the existence of the Labyrinth 10. There are currently 4 keys that they have been given. Although they seem to come back to life no matter how many times they were defeated, they still managed to get the key from the 4 Dragon Kings. However, there is not even a single sight of the other 6 to be crushed. The Immortal King was also one of them, along with the Necromancer Paladin who looked like he was his right hand. As well as the Queen who rules the insects, plus the mistress of those beasts. There's another attacking type of wizard, nicknamed the Undead of Gatter. The last one he is not even sure of its true identity. If these 6 were not defeated, it would have been a fool's dream to break through the maze. Such conditions could not have been met with the current strength of the war inside the labyrinth. Calgurio thought so, and the staff members were unanimous in their judgment. After a moment of annoyance, Calgurio picked out some of the cream of the crop from the legion. He sought out 100 men and women. Only the cream of the crop from each unit is recruited, as well as those who are confident in their strength. Sitting in the front row was an elegant man, looking calm and gentle. Even on the battlefield, his battered uniform is still worn straight. The man's name is Minute. He was the first right-hand man to Calgurio's side, ranking high as a major general. It was the commander of this battle plan that was recommended by Calgurio. Next to him sat a cold man with a cigarette in his mouth. His eyes seemed to be staring at his prey, and his bearded face was so decent that anyone opposite him would be afraid. And this man also possesses no less strength than his appearance. He's Grand Marshal Kansas. He is a hero who has made many great achievements. The most famous of these is the Monster Country Annihilation Campaign. The man in charge at the time was Kansas. Other celebrities include Michelle and Raymond. These two are otherworldly visitors. Michelle has a unique skill called Fusionist. She is good at using this power to create high firepower attacks, and is well known in the Imperial Army. As for Raymond, he has a unique skill called Fighter. He was originally a fighter, and that seemed to turn directly into his skill. He is a top fighter who is able to use all weapons and fighting techniques, as well as techniques learned in this world, with the utmost skill. The more prominent and famous ones are these 4, but the others are also one-tier pony fighters. The lowest ranked among them have all made it to level A, which is the best among the Imperial Army. So, everyone, you've heard all about it, right? Everyone nodded in silence. Although there were also men like Kansas who existed with a disdainful smile on their faces, most of them listened attentively to Calgurio. Our comrades are currently awaiting rescue in the labyrinth. Certain conditions had to be met in order to leave the maze, one of which was still to crush the Demon Lord. If the strongest Mecha Legion in our empire is sent, I am sure this problem will be solved as well. Only pity. That would waste too much time. This maze could not be defeated by the army waging manned naval tactics. Calgurio understood that, but he couldn't say it honestly. Doing so would cause demoralization, so he polished the words and explained them to these ministers. We will crush the 10 lords of the labyrinth and collect the 10 keys. That would seem to gain the right to challenge the Demon Lord Rimuru. I look forward to your being able to take on this task. I want to ask you to crush the Demon Lord. Calgurio makes this speech in the face of the elite of the Mecha Legion, who are no longer equaled. Wrap it up on us, Lord Calgurio. For us, the glorious Imperial Army, the Demon Lord is no match at all. Let's prove it next. Minute, the highest-ranking man, replied on behalf of everyone. He posed gracefully and was guaranteed to win. No one in the room objected to Minute's words. Because these people were proud of their abilities, everyone was sure they would win. We were all drawn to the images on the big screen, and we were able to catch our breath. Should I say it's not surprising? The Imperials seemed to take that as a joke and ignored the warning written on the door. And the number of general soldiers sent into the labyrinth exceeded our expectations. That's great. The results exceeded expectations. As I mumbled something, Benimaru nodded along with it. I don't think there's anyone who has to be on guard. One of the reasons should be that the 10 lords of the labyrinth are too strong, but it really seems like it's easier than one would think. He said so with his mouth open and not a slouch in his eyes. He seems to have switched thoughts, this time putting the focus on the ground. There seems to be another movement on the enemy's side. Right. This time it didn't have to be manned, the members seem to have been selected. It's going to come in eventually anyway, they should have made their decision earlier. Then our people in the labyrinth will probably be in a bit of a fight too. Hey, isn't it just what we want? Yeah, that's right. But it's disturbing that things are going so well. Benimaru said the words, but one could see from his expression that he took them for granted as a result. The troops they selected were probably the enemy main force. These guys are likely to break the 10 lords of the labyrinth individually, so they can't take it as a game now. The original purpose was to reduce the number of enemy troops. That part is done. There were only 100,000 or so people left on the Imperial side, and that number alone has been reduced to the point where even the Western countries can adequately cope. It is pleasing that the battle plan is going so well, but the other objective, to force the master out, is not yet achieved. There seem to be a few masters on the opposing side, but none that looked like they could beat me. However, as Chloe mentioned earlier, I didn't seem to be a demon lord yet, and I don't think there's much difference in strength from when we lost to Hinata. No, I don't think there's much difference in strength from when we were tied. That said, I still don't see anyone who can pose that much threat. I care more about what the enemy commander thinks. Things have gotten so miserable that it would generally be right to choose to retreat. What on earth was the commander on the enemy side thinking? Answer. There is a lack of knowledge of the current situation because of the impediments to communication with other forces. The speculation may be to hold out hope that one should not have and not give up the chance to win. Alas, Master Raphael, the King of Wisdom, speaks spitefully. Hearing it say that makes sense to me. But then again, it's not good to suppress too much in an intelligence war. If the commander had had a real grasp of the situation, perhaps the other side would have retreated. Answer. No. If you do not teach your enemies thoroughly, you will leave a legacy. There is no need to show mercy to the intruder. Good snarky comments. Well, it sounds logical and cold, I don't think it's the right answer either. The Empire wouldn't have given up on ambition if it had left them with some full decent fighting power. But if they were completely crushed here, at least for the time being, they would avoid fighting the Eastern Empire. Anyway, it's too late to say that. Unlike Master Raphael, the King of Wisdom, I am indecisive. If the enemy flee, let them go, and attack again, and then crush them again. I sighed quietly in my heart, and at this time, Ramrus got in touch with me. Rimuru, can I talk now? Yes. I'm Rimuru, no problem. It didn't seem urgent to hear her tone, not knowing what was going on. I'm asking you, there'll be another 100 people coming, right? It seems so. The enemy seems to be very strong this time. So, the Labyrinth Lords, they want to ask for something. Ramrus told me about what they were asking for. Request number 1, sponsored by Gatter. I didn't expect that there was someone he knew among those Labyrinth intruders. The names seemed to be Michelle and Raymond, who are otherworldly visitors. He would step up and convince, begging me to let them join as partners. Request number 2, sponsored by Kumar. She also seemed to spot familiar faces from among the intruders. Yet unlike Gadra, not old acquaintances, but those she wants revenge from. This man not only destroyed the Kumar's hometown of Monster Country, but also sold the young, in other words, seemingly nearly 300 years old at the time Kumar was sold to the demon lord Clayman. I didn't expect such a vicious bastard to be affiliated with the Imperial army. That's all there is to request. What should be done? What do you think, Benimaru? Well, send a few more men against them, and it will be easier to win, but it will not be. I know you can't fight a war without knowing what you're going to do, but we can't just accept the proposal, can we? If Gadra succeeds in convincing them, it is well to say that even if it fails, there is not much to lose. Indeed, that is correct. It's all about spreading each other's fighting power anyway, so leave those two to Gadra. As for Kumar, anyone who wants revenge doesn't want to be hindered. The words came out through Benimaru's mouth looking a little heavy. So to put it this way, Kumar used to be dominated by Clayman using spells. Since the man who started it was here, of course she would want revenge. For these reasons, I have decided to approve. These requests are approved, Ramrus. Great. If it's Rimuru, it's reasonable. Anyway, we want to spread the other side's strength, so Gadra's side we will just let him deal with Michelle and Raymond. This way. Give her the bearded man. I don't know what his name is, but this man's face is nasty. Ramrus was completely on the side of Kumar. But I was in the same mood as them. Let's send that guy over there. Then send a message to Kumara to do her best. Okay, let her have it. So much so that I granted their request. As for the distribution of the remaining strength, that man over there looks like he's in command. Lord Rimuru, let that man be alone and leave him to Apido to clean up. Benamere does not change color to say horrible words. He also said, you can't win with more bullying, but you can't win with less, but he said that he was planning to do so easily. But I went with his offer. Ramrus, that fashionable middle-aged man seems to be the commander. Send this guy alone to Apido's side. I get it. To take away his command, so that the enemy becomes a scattered disk of sand. It's a dirty battle plan. Huh. And I turn out to be the bad guy. Throwing the surprise me aside, Ramrus came up with her own set of explanations. Can we give the rest of the 100 men to Adalman? Understood. Although other people's Dragon King treasures were lost, others were still trying. Let's work at this pace until the end. Ramrus seemed a little chagrined, but it didn't help. Even if those Dragon Kings were better off, they were no good against the hordes that swarmed in. The Dragon Kings were fighting in this situation, and I think they all did their best. Despite being robbed of 4 keys, there were still 6 Labyrinth Lords left to lose. Let's ask them to continue at this pace. It's up to you. But you must not be careless. There may be dangerous people in those 100 people. No problem, no problem. I said that Rimuru would be watching from the sidelines, and everyone was in high spirits. And the king of the labyrinth is Master Valdor. That's saying something. This time the maze's condition becomes collect 10 keys and defeat the king of the maze to win. I can't imagine that Valdor would go down. I think that aspect can be taken care of. Right, me too. Then keep up the good work. Leave it to us. Leaving these energetic words behind, Ramrus ended the conversation through the communication network. So one last step to go. To observe the final battle, my gaze pulled back to the screen once more.